Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
So what's your view? Where do you stand? Do you think the president is doing the right thing? Or maybe you don't like the language he used, but think he's doing the right thing. You think the players are responding the right way, or maybe you don't like the way they're doing it. The division runs deep here. What do we make of it as followers of Jesus first and Americans second, as followers of Jesus first and men and women second, as followers of Jesus first and black or white or Hispanic or Asian second? What do we make of this? To read my latest article, go to Ask Dr. Brown, askdrbrown.org. I've got two new articles, one directly addressing this debate, the president and the NFL. Where do we stand? Where should we stand? So we address that in the most redemptive way I can, not pulling any punches. And then another article from Matthew 24 about the days of Noah, when Jesus said, just as it was in the days of Noah, that's how it'll be before he returns. And was he talking about it'll be just as wicked, or was he mainly talking about the people won't be prepared then any more than they were in Noah's day? I write about that, address that, shatter some myths. That's all at Ask Dr. Brown, askdrbrown.org. And to get in the conversation, I'll be taking calls in a few minutes, 866-348-7884. All right, so last night, I was giving all this prayerful thought. I had written one article. I started to write an article about the NFL and the president. And man, the divisions are very, very intense right now. I mean, think of it. NFL owners upset with the president, even some who supported the president, donate to his campaign. They're upset with the president. They feel what he said was divisive and wrong. NASCAR owners saying, we made it clear to our folks, and there are black crew members and things like that. So it's not just white. They said, we made it clear. You do this, you're fired. Or you do this, we're not happy with it. We don't want to see a protest. We're going to honor our flag. All right? So you have the division there. You have, complete polarization here. Golden State Warriors looks like they're not going to go to the White House, and President Trump says, well, you're disinvited. Steph Curry, you're hesitating. This is an honor. You're disinvited. He calls the NFL players SOBs. LeBron James calls him a bum and says, used to be an honor to go to the White House before you got there. Now picture if it had been Barack Obama telling white players that what they were doing was ridiculous, say or if some of them went to a Glenn Beck rally in D.C., Hispanic players or white players, and he called them SOBs. Think of how conservatives would react. Think of how liberals would react if a white athlete called the President Obama a bum. So you can see how inflammatory this is on both sides. So Golden State Warriors not going to the White House, largely black team. NHL, the Pittsburgh Penguins, going to the White House, largely white team. Is this a white-black issue? Listen to what Congresswoman Maxine Waters had to say in a recent TV appearance. She's talk is on AM Joy, and this is a couple weeks back now. It's after Charlottesville and things like that. But listen to what she has to say about the president being divisive when it comes to race issues.
He is about division. He is about signaling to that core group of his that this country that he wants to make great again is all about making it white. And it's all about saying to them that your troubles, your problems are caused by those people. I'm going to put a travel ban on people who we won't let into United States of America because they're the ones who are undermining your efforts to do well. He's pointing now to the NFL. We know that the majority of these players are African Americans, and we know what he is doing. We're not tricked or fooled by him in any shape, form, or fashion.
All right. That was actually just from today. My notes had a wrong date on it. So listen, is this a race issue? Is President Trump intentionally stoking racial fires? May I ask if Maxine Waters is intentionally stoking racial fires, if her comments are absolutely clearly divisive and intentionally divisive? She goes on in that clip to say, he never said a word about, doesn't say a word about white supremacists. Well, of course, he's denounced them by name several different occasions. But should we look at this as a race issue? There's an interesting conversation with NFL football great Jim Brown. It comes from last year, but it's relevant. He's 80 years old. He's been known for taking strong stands on civil rights issues. He's always been outspoken, one of the greatest athletes to ever play in the NFL. And he's being interviewed. This is a discussion of Brooke Baldwin on CNN with a black pastor who was a supporter of Trump, I believe. Listen to what Jim Brown has to say, because it's a redemptive path. It's a direction that I want to go. Listen to Jim Brown on this interview.
I've lived all my life in America, and I'm 80 years old. So I have seen discrimination at its worst. I understand slavery. I study history. The only thing that I've always done, I've tried to make sure that I was a decent person and that I worked outside of myself to make things better. So I don't always look at black and white. But I'm going to say this to you.
Yes.
And I don't ever say this. The three greatest people in my life were white. Okay? My high school coach, my high school superintendent, and my mentor in Manhasset, Long Island. I never had a father, really. My great-grandmother raised me. But I was in this country where I got help from people that were not of my same color. So when I come out of the box, I don't come out of the box as racial. I look for good people and people that will be like-minded and help me try to do good for other human beings. So that's truly where I'm coming from.
Now, you see, on that clip, he was asked to address, is Trump's cabinet too white? Does it have enough minorities, enough women, things like that, people of color? And that's what he was addressing, that we're not looking at color, we're looking at right, wrong, best qualified, things like that. So let me step back, and then you get to weigh in, and I want to hear from you. You can have passionate disagreement on these things. But here's the deal. I have talked to enough people over the years, especially as a radio show host, to know that there are often two very real perspectives that can seem to be completely contrary and opposing, and yet there is much in common. So let me lay this out. There are many Americans, when they think of the flag, they think of what is best about America. And when they think of the flag, this is the time before every big sports event and celebration and things like this. This is our time to remember what's best about our country and to celebrate those who sacrificed for our country. We are remembering our soldiers that are on the front lines now, our military that's on the front lines around the world, risking their lives for our freedoms. We're remembering those who sacrificed, and therefore you don't do anything to disrespect the flag, especially if you have been privileged by our liberties. Come on, these NFL athletes often make more in a year than many of us make in a lifetime. That's incredible. That's because of America and the capitalist system and the riches of the nation and being such an entrepreneurial nation and all of that. So you don't disrespect the flag. There are others that see the flag, and it just stands for America to them with all of its blemishes and weaknesses. And they feel, listen, we can't turn a blind eye to those things. We cannot turn a blind eye. And therefore, it's important we draw attention to racial and social inequities, to inequities in our justice system and things like that. We have a cry also. I have had all too many African-American callers tell me about being racially profiled, tell me about difficulties they had to overcome simply because they were African-American. These are God-fearing, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, law-abiding people. And I've heard them enough to know they're not just making this up. On the flip side, I've heard from police officers, I've heard from others on the other side of the debate to say, yeah, but we have problems, though, with black crime in inner cities. How can you not racially profile them if you or profile if you have a case where you're looking for somebody and it has to do with the breakdown of the family? And others say, well, the breakdown of the family goes back to the welfare system as white people put the debate goes around and around. But here's the deal. Those who are standing for patriotism and those who are kneeling for justice both want the same thing, which is an America that is great, an America that is just, an America that is strong, an America that stands for liberty and equality, an America that helps a needy world all around. That's what everyone wants. Now, there's all kinds of mixtures. There's a patriotism that's unhealthy, that turns a blind eye to problems. There's a justice emphasis that's unhealthy because it's not based on true justice. It's based on other types of inequities. A lot of the social justice warriors are dangerous. A lot of the hyper-patriots are dangerous. Here's what needs to happen. The rhetoric needs to be quieted down. Here, let me put out something. the President of the United States calls on LeBron James and says, let's have a face-to-face. Let's share one another's perspectives. I'm going to honor you as the President of the United States, and I want you to show honor to me before the nation. Let's sit and talk rather than attack each other, because now the protests are about the protest and the fight's about the words, and we've gotten away from the issues. Let's talk about patriotism and what's best about America and American sacrifices. Let's talk about justice and where there are inequities, how to address those, and let's calm down with all the rhetoric. Let's sit and talk and reason and listen and learn. That's the path of wisdom.